Yastvam indriyani manasa niyamya Arjuna karmendriyani he karma yogam asakta sa vishishyate. So today we shall be discussing chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, which entitles Karma Yoga, and verse number is 7. As you know, Sri Krishna is explaining to Arjun that what is more beneficial. Of course, Arjun had some doubts. Arjuna did not want to fight. Krishna says, it is not in your favor of not fighting. You must fight. But in what consciousness you should fight, that you should learn. There are two ways to connect to the Supreme. One is through the way of action, one is through the way of knowledge, known as Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga or Yoga. When Karma Yoga becomes matured, it becomes Bhakti Yoga. When Jnana Yoga comes in contact with a devotee of God, it also becomes Bhakti Yoga. Actually, all kinds of yoga, all kinds of philosophy finds peace in Bhakti Yoga. What is Bhakti Yoga in simple terms? Bhakti Yoga means to love God, to serve God, to see God everywhere in each being. And that is the truth. As a Lord, Supreme Lord of the universe, the Lord also resides in the heart of each being, because each being is part and parcel of Krishna. We are God's child. So Krishna is saying that no matter what process of yoga you select, but you cannot aloof yourself from action, because a soul is active by nature, and that's what Krishna told Arjun, that no matter what you think, you may think that you're not working, but actually you are working 24 hours. You also work from the mind. When you sleep, you dream, you're working all the time. No living entity can sit for a second unless and until they reach to me. So, people are looking for happiness, they're looking for peaceful situation. There are so many philosophies in the world where they say do this, but we have to understand the point that whom should we follow? Should we follow people or should we follow Krishna or those who are following Krishna? So we should follow Krishna and his devotees. So this is an intelligence. In today's verse, Krishna is saying that a person, on the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by the mind and begins Karma Yoga in Krishna consciousness without attachment, he is by far superior. They are kind of people, pseudo transcendentalists, for the sake of living, for the sake of enjoying women, and for the sake of comforts in life, they become spiritualists. But Krishna is saying, but it is much better that you remain a householder, but you understand the purpose of human life. So, by controlling the mind, by working through your senses, through a pure mind, you are executing your material duties and you are executing your spiritual duties. Spiritual duties means sadhana, it means chanting the name of Lord, hearing about Him. I have told this many times. There are a set of things which we have to do every day. You know, for an person who is a bodybuilder or he wants to improve his health and his muscles, there are a set of exercises every day. And there is a perfect routine that this athlete has to follow. You know, there are exercises, and then there are exercise for the hands and thighs and chest and back, and then eating habits are there. You have to take protein, you have to take rest, you have to go swimming, like that. The whole thing, if he does it every day and follow the regime sincerely, and very soon he'll have a very good build. Similarly, it is true with all the fields of knowledge or field of work, and especially to spirituality. Since we have to purify the mind, there are some set, tested principles and sadhanas. So one of them is that first, we should be living under a spiritual master. We must have a spiritual guide in our life because we are dealing with the mind. So mind is very fickle and very big a demon if it is not controlled, but it is a greatest of the friend if it is controlled. So the whole idea is purifying the mind and taking that mind to Krishna. Krishna says, give me your mind. So first of all, we should live under the shelter of a spiritual master, spiritual guide, and we should do what the guide says. We should do what our instructor is telling us. That is the first principle in spirituality. And of course, we should serve that great personality. We should inquire from that personality. So this is known as surrendering to a spiritual master. This is how spirituality actually begins. No, before that, whatever we do, whatever pious deeds we perform, all that takes us to that spiritual personality. Second is that we should live under the control of God, under the shelter of Krishna. Means we should understand that the Lord is with us all the time. He's in the heart. So we should feel that way. Meditate on this point. You see, a very simple principle. If you meditate on a particular idea, particular thought, again and again, again and again, then it doesn't remain a thought. It becomes a reality. It becomes a reality. Like you say, this is my father, this is my father. You don't know certainly that this is the person who is your father, but you have believed so much that it is a reality. There's so many evidence will say he is not your father, but you will not accept it. So similarly, if you meditate on a negative thought, it becomes your reality. When you meditate on a positive thought, it becomes your reality. And when you meditate on actual thought, which is reality, then it is revealed to you. The God is in the heart, so meditate it again and again. God is in everybody's heart, so meditate it. Act with the God. Don't act with the person, you act with the God. Don't blame a person. You blame your previous action. You blame that. So, since things are perfectly controlled by the Lord, so one need not worry. And one should live, the third point is, under the shelter of scriptures. We must have a very good understanding of scriptures, especially Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavad Puran. And of course, the glories of the Lord are discussed in many Purans and many Upanishads, which you can read as you get time. So, under the shelter of Guru, must have a guide, must be under the shelter of Krishna, must be under the shelter of scriptures. And number 4 point is, you must have spiritual association. You must have people or devotees who are going towards God. You must develop affectionate relationship with them. In a week, you must have sometimes discussion, which is known as satsanga, or classes, bhakti yoga classes. So that should be a part of your life. If you really want to control your mind, purify your mind. And the 5th is Sankirtan, Nam Kirtan. Every day you must chant the name of Krishna. You must chant the Maha Mantra 16 rounds a day, which takes around 2 hours. And you have 24 hours. And how many times you have chanted the name of God since you are born? So now is the time. You try chanting the name of God. It is recommended by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is tested. So many devotees have realized the Lord. They have reached the Lord by just chanting the name of Krishna. Krishna's name and Krishnas are non-different. It is a panacea for all the miseries in the world. Cheto darpana marjanam bhav maha davagni nirvaparam. The heart becomes clean, no anger, no lust, no greed. And everything comes in union with the Lord. So Harinam, and must organize the Harinam Sankirtan in your house at least twice a year, in Uttarayan and Dakshinayan. There are 2 phases of the sun. So in both the phases, you must organize your Sankirtan at your home. It will spiritualize the whole environment, your rooms, your air, and your everything. So it is generally 14th January to the July something. It is known as Uttarayan, and then 14th July till 14th January, it is like Dakshinayan, southern hemisphere when the sun is there. So we in a general rule we organize 2 times a year in Kirtan in a house. So it's maybe your birthday, your children's birthday, or maybe some nice your anniversary or something good. Or if you, even though it is not there, you just organize some good day, some holiday. So organizing Kirtan, performing Kirtan, an association of sadhu, following scriptures, reading scriptures, especially Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavad Puran, under the shelter of Krishna and under the shelter of spiritual master. Just following these few principles every day, very quickly you will not be a pretender. Your mind will become very clean, and you'll go closer to self-realization and a very controlled life, which is prescribed by the scriptures. So this is how a sincere person will progress. No matter what you're doing, it hardly matters what work you're doing. You can be clerk, you can be teacher, you can be a rickshaw puller, whatever you are. It doesn't matter at all. What is matter is that you're doing sadhana, so you're spiritually progressing, and whatever work you're doing, do it sincerely, honestly, and this is how very soon you'll get perfection in life, perfection in life, perfection in bliss and happiness. So we'll stop here today and discuss the next verse tomorrow. Hare Krishna.